Thank you, Garima.
Hi everyone, I'm Garima. Before coming to Carnegie Mellon to pursue a software management course, I worked as a product manager in India for 2 years. It was a gaming startup company founded by Tencent and Naspers. It was a company which was founded primarily to capture the internet that will grow in India over the next 5 years or something, because India is not a very fast moving internet market. So this company was founded just to capture various parts of this industry. So it was not just games, we were also doing e-commerce, we were doing travel, and we were doing social networking. So games was just one of the domain that the company was looking into. So I worked on various products, not just build it, but actually ship them. So I worked for 2 years. My team size went up to 15 members, including engineers and designers. We launched close to 3 games on web and around 7 games on Android. These are the snapshots of some of my games. I need help with this. Sorry. It's just falling off again. No, it keeps falling off.
Is that okay?
Okay. So these are the snapshots of some of the games that we launched. The first is Teen Patti, which is an Indian form of poker. It's played with 3 cards and it's played amongst up to 6 players live. So it's a live multiplayer game with 6 players. The next game is Crickado, which was a real life game again based on cricket. Cricket is a very famous game in India, so we kind of wanted to capture that instinct amongst people. So it was a real life game. Then we went on to do Rummy. Rummy is a 13 card Indian game. It's played either between 1 to 2 people, I mean between 2 people or 4 people. It's a 13 card game. Next, we did a few casual games. We started off with making Can You Draw. It was made, it was actually, if you've heard of Draw Something, it was actually built and launched at least 6 months to 1 year before Draw Something was launched here in the Valley area. It was one of the good games to be done on Android, but probably did not pick up that much in the Indian market because not a lot of people have Android phones and not everybody was having fast internet connection on mobile. Then we did a game called Speedwords, which is primarily a word game in which every user gets 60 seconds to place turns. So you're given like 6 words and you have to randomly just keep on making words, and the person who makes maximum words win the game. Then we made a game called Word War, which was a very simplified version of Scrabble. And another experiment was Connect 4, which was like a very famous game which every kid would play at home. So we just created an online version to try it out. So now I'll talk more about my journey in detail. So I joined ibibo in 2010 June. So I started working on recommendation engine and few Tencent products such as chat and messenger. It was uh, it was kind of a new domain for me because
Yeah, and how many people were at the company at the time you joined?
in the gaming domain there were around 20 or 25 people when I joined. So again when I joined, it was like I was the only product manager who was fresh out of college. So people were not really, willing to accept me as a product person. So I had a lot of problems dealing with developers and designers because often they would have a perception of, you're just fresh out of college. Why should you tell us what to do? So which was kind of challenging for me in for initial I think 6 months. It was very difficult to manage teams. Uh, then I worked on a monetization platform, which was uh, sorry. Okay, it's fine. Just keep only work if I
Yeah,
stay
sorry.
big phone. Can I use this mic?
Yes, you can. Let me just see which one.
No, I can just use this.
Yeah, next time it falls off. Oh, I see the problem. It's actually, okay, let me just try something. Okay, there we are.
This one's
Okay,
me.
that's fine. Use the other mic.
Is it? Okay, yeah. So after that, I started by building a recommendation engine for the social networking site. So it's like a friend suggestion system that you need that you see on Facebook. So it involved a lot of data analysis and checking which is the best possible way to recommend friends to people. Then I worked on a monetization platform for some multiplayer games like Teen Patti. So these were like really huge games for us. We had a huge user base, but there was no monetization strategy attached to the game. So this was like one of the fresh projects for me when I started building a monetization platform across multiplayer games. Then I worked on again I started working more on the product side, not just monetization for both Teen Patti and Rummy. Till March, I had totally moved from just doing monetization and other stuff to core game for Rummy and all other multiplayer games. So I was kind of leading the entire multiplayer domain of the company, which had a portfolio of around 8 to 10 multiplayer games. Then I did over next 6 months, I was mainly working on expanding the user base of Rummy and creating around 4 to 5 games on Android. After in March 2012, Rummy reached the highest peak. If for us, it was like the maximum revenue that we couldn't think of. We reached that stage beyond which it was like either we separate Rummy as a separate domain and take it public, or look into it as a separate business opportunity. Uh, then April 2012, I left because I had to come here. Okay, I would like to give a demo of one of my games. Just Teen Patti is mainly an Indian form of poker. It's played with with three cards. So as you can see, there's a lobby here that says there are various tables, and it shows the number of people sitting on every table. We can just go in and join any game. If I join this, the game here is already in progress, and there are 6 people playing live on the table. So once this game gets over, I can probably come back and join for a fresh game. Try in some other room. Mm. So most of the table seems busy right now. Probably we'll move ahead. But as you can see, it's like a live game where bet gets updated every second, and you get 15 seconds as a user to place your turn. So every time you place your turn, it gets updated. So this forms a very complicated system for all the multiplayer games, because what you see on the screen is not just what you are doing as a user, but you also have to kind of show the person what other 5 people are doing real time, and the entire game depends on that. If anything goes wrong in any of these stages, then probably the game gets stuck, or you lose for no reason, or something like that happens. So this is the most complicated stage of a multiplayer game. Okay. So this was my team. The first person with me in the photo is my mentor, who mentored me for like 6 to 9 months doing product management, how to handle the team, how to go about developing products. Rest of the people are my team, about the engineers and a few marketing people in the pics. On the fifth picture, it's my marketing team, and rest of the team is all multiplayer engineers. Then now I'll mainly talk about Rummy because it was one of the biggest games for us. Why I started working on Rummy in a company which was so small was I had already worked on monetization platform and recommendation engine that did really well in the market. I had a good understanding of multiplayer games. So at that point of time, it was like, okay, I can, maybe just to start looking into the opportunities of what can be done with the game. It was not just like, it was not that the company had just one product, so it was not a decision to be made based on if the seniority. So it was more like just anybody could go and look into the options of what can be done. So we were just exploring what can be done and what cannot be done. Then on the game, the Rummy was, for us, it was a real cash game. So what we do is, if there are two users who come in and you can deposit money, so you can deposit money using your credit card or a cash on delivery system. If you deposit 100 rupees into the system and say you play a game for 100 rupees and you win it, you get 180, and the other person loses his bet amount, and that the difference of 20 of the pot value goes to the company. So it was kind of a very straight monetization model for the company also. It was like a direct business model. We you As many people play the game and the more games they play, the more money we make. So our focus was always to, try and get more people to play the real cash game and maximize their spending every month. So for phase 1 of Rummy, where December 2010 to March 2011, these are the revenue numbers before December. So previously was 2x, and in quarter 1, starting Jan, Feb, and March 2011, it was 10 times, it was 10x. The team size was just, there was initially just one engineer working on it. Then we just added another person so that we can really start developing and looking into what we can, make and just put it out in the market. In the beginning, so there was a product that existed, but it was just another product. It was not good enough to grow in a market which had big competitors. The reason being that the core functionality and the game logic was not very well defined. So we had to look into, if we can actually build on that product or should we make something absolutely new. Then we started analyzing our competitors. We had two competitors, ace23.com and games247.com. They've been there in the market for last 5 years, but the user experience that they were providing was not the best possible user experience. Their game was complicated. It was not structured well to the needs of the user. We also recognized problems with their technology. The reason being, these companies were mainly using software that was built by some other company in UK or something, and they just bought that multiplayer backend software and they built their game on top of it. So it was a very, very big problem for them to, make changes to the backend of the game or iterate on the platform. And that could have been our strength because we were making everything in house. So in India, we were the only company who was making multiplayer games in house. So we recognized an opportunity that if we do a game in a much better way, we can actually take a market which has been there for 5 years, but we were not there. So it was a very big opportunity for us. So we had to now make a choice. Either we build on what we had, just fix on bugs and keep on improving the current product, or we create a new product from scratch. The reason why we wanted again to create a new product from scratch was that the old product was just to build, match the competitors, and it makes absolutely no sense to build something which is there just to match the competitors, because if you're already using a product, you would not just leave it for some other product, right? The new product has to be at least 10 times or 100 times better than the old product for users to move on. So that is why we wanted to make a new product from scratch. So the things, then when we started making a new game, the things we focused on was the core functionality. We did not want to offer a range of features. All we wanted to do was, the basic game should be really easy for people to play. It should be absolutely seamless for a person to come into the game, just start playing a game, and that entire experience should be very pure. We also started focusing on a very simple design, which should not have, multiple layers of tables and multiple layers of UI and animations. It just should be very clean. We also wanted to focus on rapid iterations. We did not have a huge team and we did not have the scope to, work on something for 3 months and then wait and see if it would work in the market or not. What we wanted to do was just, as and when we would get an idea, just probably make it and put it out in the market, and then based on the results iterate on it. So we built a new engine which was very easy, which would make the development of these multiplayer games very easy for us. So it would kind of act as an interface between the back end of the game and the front end game. It handles all the server side calls that are in a live game. So things like a new user has joined, a user has exited, it's time to start a new game, the game has got over. So these things were put into a separate module as a platform and separated from the game logic and the game front end. Another advantage of doing this was that it helped us, really speeden up our development cycles. Not every engineer in the team was now required to understand the end to end of the product, right from the front end to the platform and to the game logic. If a person knows Flash well, he can just work on the front end. If a person knows Java well, he can just do the game logic. He does not really need to know the entire system well. So this helped us, structure our team in a way that we could just rapidly divide work and do it as soon as possible. Then there was phase two of starting from April 2011. So, like you see, phase one, we ended at a revenue of 10x. Over phase two, we went up to 40. So, quarter two of phase two was 20, and then we did 40. At the same time, mm, sorry. Yes. At the same time, we also built on our team. So we made from two engineers to we went on to be like five engineers. We could again hire people specifically for certain skill sets like Flash, like Java, or anything else. We did not have to depend on people to do the end-to-end engineering of the product. Then there was a time around April to May when we realized that the game in itself was doing good, but there were major dropout points before a person could actually start playing the game. So it's like the user lands on the game, he has to register, he goes through the landing pages, there's a cold user flow, onboarding process. So there was a very big dropout at every stage. And if we are getting 100 people onto the site and just 10 people are playing the game, then those 90 people are just we are wasting our marketing money also. So we kind of wanted to capture that and tackle that. So we started working on everything. We simplified the registration process, something that required initially like 10 to 12 fields to get people registered and get them into the system. We just dropped it to four registration fields. We really improved the landing pages to just have the main core messages that we wanted to convey rather than having 10,000 things for people and having a cluttered page. Then we improved the cold user flow and the onboarding process. So just like a dynamic interactive screen that would show how you can actually play this game. So the learning curve of the game was really reduced. And then we did a lot of experimentation with everything. We did not always, wait to find the perfect solution to a problem, because at any point of time there's no perfect solution. There's always what seems the best at the moment. We built whatever looked best. We pushed it live. We looked at it, we refined it. If the numbers and the feedback would tell us what is wrong and what is not wrong, so we would just build on top of it. We iterated very fast. We did a lot of A/B testing at that stage with multiple versions of the same page. That really helped us grow and handle the user acquisition problem. uh, then uh, then we also realized that there were people who were playing, but they would play like two or three times or maybe put money into the system just one or two times and just go away. So we wanted to increase the engagement and repeat usage at that stage. So we did two things. One was the first time deposit bonus that would attract users to feel that, okay, if I deposit on this particular site, it's more useful for me. So what we did was every time you deposit for the first, when a user deposits for the first time, he gets an equal amount of bonus. So if you deposit 100 into the system, you get another 100. But the catch is you don't get it right away. What you have to do is like every time you play certain amount of games, you get that 100 redeemed into your real cash account. So it was like a loop that once you're there and you are logged in, you have to keep on playing to get that money. And there was always a lure that oh, there's 100 lying in my account, and the more I play with this site, the more I can get and get redeemed. I mean, more money I can redeem. So that was a very good thing that we did. Referral bonus was mainly on the Dropbox format. So it's like if you refer your friends and your friends come back and deposit money into the system, you also get the same amount of bonus. So which really helps us get real cash users by referrals, because it's a very niche community of people who are willing to play with real cash. And if people who've been playing for last 2 years, they know who are the other people who would be willing to play with real cash. So based on this referral, we were we were able to reach those end users very quickly. It was a direct way to. Okay.
How many people are there in that category? How big is the market for paying
for
customers?
for paying customers, it's few thousands.
Few thousand.
Yes, but based on those few thousands, if we are able to kind of make a business of few millions in a month, because it's direct 10% of whatever they are paying. So we were able to make a business of approximately few millions in a month by the end of 2011. So that's like a very niche market, very small user base, but the money you make out of it is quite huge. So next, while we were doing these things, we were also constantly thinking of what to do next. At this point of time, when you have like a small team and you have to do a lot of things really fast, there are few categories of features which is like things that are absolutely necessary to do. It's like there's no running away from them. People expect to see that, we know we have to do that, so we have to put in some resources into that. Then there are few features that users don't really use that much, but it kind of gives them a comfort to see that, this is an option and they can do it if they want to do those things at certain point. And then there are a few innovative features. These are things that people have not seen on any other site. They don't anticipate that such things are possible in the product. But if you as a company build those things and help the users play your game more, it kind of pushes your product to the next level. So we wanted to do these things in the parallel because we did not have, we could not spend like 3 months first doing things that were necessary and then going back and doing something new. So what we were doing is like we were picking up features which were absolutely necessary to do, and in the parallel we were doing something innovative. So it was kind of giving a cushion for us to do new things while users were already getting what they wanted. Then key things that we did in phase two was we built some tournaments. Tournaments are an extended form of the normal game, which is played with 2 to 4 players. But tournaments go on to have like around 256 or 512 live players at the same time playing in the same game. So it's played in a knockout format. Then we really wanted to do performance. The biggest reason was Indian market and the kind of users we had. We did not have enough. They did not have enough internet bandwidth. Not everyone has like a good internet connection. The average speed of people was around 128 kbps per second, which was really low. And every other competitor in the market, the games they were building, it used to take around 3 to 4 minutes to load that game. But we worked really, we spent close to like a month or two on performance to just reduce that rate. And we got our game down to, it just started loading around 30 to 40 seconds or at times 50 seconds, but it would never go beyond 1 minute. So we kind of had a benchmark that we don't want to go beyond 1 minute of loading time. So I mean, these are features which a user don't see up front. Like it's not like in the game, but it's very critical because the easier your game loads, the it's easier for people to play the game. Then we started doing a lot of data logging and we created a lot of automated systems about around data logging. Every action was getting tracked on a per user basis. So every click that a user makes, every exit that a user makes, when he's idle, when he's not idle, we were tracking everything. And we also made an automatic system out of which would run standard queries and give us those results and show us, these kind of people are doing this and this kind of people are doing this. So which really helped us plan the next set of steps that we wanted to take. Then we did a Rummy UI redesign, which was kind of actually what we noticed was every company in the market had an Excel format of showing the various tables on which a user can go and join. So which is like, you have to go and go through 50 or 100 list and then figure out, okay, I want to play in a game with a bet amount of 50 where two people, the game starting in 10 minutes, and yes, I want to join it, which was like a cumbersome process. So we kind of created something which was in the middle of both the things. So we abstracted these tables into various clubs. So one club would be all tables of 25 rupees, and another club would be all tables of 50 rupees, and another format, and so on. And when you get into that table, into that club, then you can see various tables that are open. And it would like in a dynamic format, it will show like, if you see on the first table here, this one, it kind of shows that there's one person who's already waiting and the next seat is vacant, so you can, immediately just go and join that table. You don't have to go through a list of tables and clubs to figure out where you should play. So this really helped us again, simplify the game. And a lot of users who were switching to our game, was another reason was this was a very big reason, because it just immediately became very easy for them to play games when they have to instantly choose. Along with this, we did a couple of more things, which was automating the play now button. So usually what happens in a play now is it randomly allocates you to the table. But what we did was we tracked the user activity of the past. So what kind of games you prefer? So we would match you only if there's a room in the your preferred content, because there's no point matching you to a random table where you would not end up playing. So we did a couple of those things on backend algorithms that again improve the service that we were giving to users. Then we did tournaments. So tournaments was like a very big fad in India. So everyone would believe to actually make your game work well, you need to do tournaments. Every company is offering tournaments, and it should just, there's nothing more important than tournaments in the industry. So we kind of spent a month or two on working on tournaments. We launched it. For first 4 weeks, the graph was just going up. So we were like really happy. Oh, finally we found something that will, push our product to the new stage and we can get more users, and this is awesome and everything. And after that it just started dropping in, and it dropped and dropped, and for next 3 weeks when it was dropping, we actually freaked out, because we were like, maybe there's a problem with the system, maybe there's a problem with the backend logic, maybe there are bugs in the system which is not letting people play. And so we just wanted to tackle that, and we spent, I think, another 3 to 4 weeks just trying to handle that. At the same time, we started talking to users, and like I remember talking to at least 40, 50 users in a day who've ever played tournaments, and asking them why are they not playing anymore. I think end of that we just realized it was not, there was no problem with the with our system. The problem was that people like to have tournaments, but they don't want to play tournaments all the time. It's one of those things, they would play 10 normal games and just for a change go and play one tournament. So it was not something that helped us build up on our revenue or build up on the user base. It was just giving another offering to the person if one day he really wants to play a tournament. So we realized that after probably spending 2 3 months on just trying to fix what is wrong with our tournaments. Then from October 2011, we started with the third phase. As you see, so quarter last phase ended with quarter three at 40, and in the next phase we did quarter four and quarter five. We crossed more than 100 times the revenue. Our team size also grew from, so it was 5 8, and we managed to build an entire team of 8 people. I mean, so it was engineers and designers of 8 people, and apart from that, we hired some marketing people and some uh, sales people. So which really helped us. Operations people, customer care team. So which kind of built this entire company for just one game. At this point of time, again, when we were really growing, we were kind of also very scared of what to do next, because it could be that anything we do might not turn out to be the right thing to do, and something that's growing we might just fall, and it's very difficult to pull back the numbers once they've started falling. So we were very scared to what to do next. So we kind of started managing, what is it that we as a company really wanted to do, what was our vision. So for us, it was not just creating a product which would match the competitors, which would just create another game. It was really what we wanted to solve the real problem of people who like to play real cash games. And it was just about simplifying the product, giving a more secure and more stable platform than anybody else in the market. Then users often expect instant gratification. If they are using a product and they don't see something new coming up every 2 weeks, they start feeling that nothing is happening in the game. So when you take feedback, you'll always find something that says, maybe you should do this and I want to see this. But is that the real problem that we have? So the way we started taking user feedback was not to really find the new feature list, but what we wanted to find was what was their pain point with the current system. Maybe let it be competitors, let it be our game, but we really wanted to find their pain points and then solve them. So this was the time when we did a lot of innovative stuff. Uh, this was something that was not seen in any other product in the market, neither any other multiplayer game which was built across Zynga or Playdom or Disney. None of these features existed in any of those multiplayer games. So we created a virtual lobby kind of a system. There's a very big drop off point in any multiplayer game, which is that if you as a user have decided that you want to play the game, another user should be available to play that game exactly at the same time with you. Otherwise you just end up waiting. So what users do is, like, you go, they will wait for 2 minutes, 3 minutes, maybe 5 minutes, but if there's no other person at the same time and on the same table, they just leave the system. So we created a virtual lobby. So what our system did was, it would track everybody in the system who's waiting or who's not in a game. And as soon as we find two matches who would like to play the same kind of game with the same amount of bet money, we would match them together. So it became really easy for us to, even if the people are idle and thinking what to do, we could prompt them to, that this is a game that you should play, and we would just pair them together. Next, again, we spent a lot of time doing performance, like I already discussed. Then we did something about internet disconnection, which is again a very big problem in India. What would happen in games is like, first of all, people don't have a high speed internet. Secondly, these internets keep getting disconnected really fast. So when you're playing a real cash game and something goes wrong with the internet, as a user, you don't get to know that your internet has stopped working. The game just gets stuck. And every other company in the market, and I mean every multiplayer game, they just have this as their TNC, that if something goes wrong with your game because of internet disconnection, we are not responsible and we will not return your money and things, which we did for initial 6 months. But then we realized that if that is affecting users, and we should try and do something about it. So we kind of built a system in the background of the game that would just track the internet connectivity of the person. And as soon as the internet would disconnect, we would just give him a prompt that your internet has disconnected, you need to reconnect. And we would give him next 3 minutes to reconnect and reload the game and enter at the same point where his game got stuck. So this prevented us. I mean, this was like, for a user it was a very big thing, because I've already betted 100 and my internet goes off in the middle. I don't want to lose that money. And if there is a company that is offering that, I have some bandwidth where I can go back and join that game, it is a very big plus for me. I will not lose the money just because of internet disconnection. So this was another, I mean, this was one of those features which, as soon as we launched, it just started picking up our numbers in a huge way, because people had more trust in the system. They were willing to, it's their risk has just gone down in playing a live game online with real cash. Then we worked on certain core game features. We did not want to just add different formats of the game. What we wanted to do was, like, while you are playing the game, how do we make it really easy and really interactive for you? So we built some automatic systems that would help you during the game. So one thing that people have to do in Rummy is, like, you have 13 cards. So like 13 cards on your screen is difficult to manage, and you have to make 4 sets out of it. So people tend to group similar cards in an order. So what they would do is, like, they would put all two, three, fours in together, and cards of same color together, and so on. So we built a system that would kind of understand this user behavior. If a person is trying to put similar cards on the same site, it would just tell you that you can group it and put it aside. So on the screen we created certain sectors where you can just drag your cards on the site. That is how you play in your real life. Like, you have 13 cards, whichever sets are final, you start putting it on the site. So we kind of did a couple of things to make this easy for people to handle 13 cards. We also tried to understand, like, rather than just making him manually do this separation of cards, we wanted it to automatically happen. So we would track user tendencies of, if these are the similar cards, this is when the user would want to separate it, and we intelligently kind of separated those cards for the user. At the same time, because Android was picking up in India, we made an Android version of Rummy. Um, then, while all this was happening and numbers were growing, there were two things that we were really failing at. One was the security issue. So there were lots of people who would like to hack the system just because it's a real cash game. So few things happened which were like, in someone's account there were like 20,000, and some hacker was able to hack into the system and kind of transfer that money into his own account. So those were very big issues that we were facing at that point of time. What we did again for security issues was, we created a security alarm kind of a system. While we fixed every issue that we found out, like, there were few loopholes in the system that we had not anticipated in the past. So we fixed those issues, and we also created a trigger mechanism. So every time something unusual happens with a user, it sends a trigger to everybody in the team that, this user is doing something which is not a usual thing for someone to do. Like, for example, winning 20 games in a row. You just cannot win 20 games in a row, which is very unlikely. If you're winning 20 games in a row, maybe you manipulated something in the front end and you are able to change your cards with the system. So we created those kind of triggers that would just send us an email that, something is wrong with this account. After that, customer care was another very big problem that we were facing. It being a real cash game, people always had problems every day. It could be with the bank, it could be with the game, it could be with their account status. And people were just writing, they were like in, I don't know, few hundreds emails every day that we were getting about some issue they faced in the game. And we had a customer care team that, but which was not in house. We had outsourced our customer care. So it was very difficult for us to explain to them to how to manage people, how to really understand what has gone wrong with the game and everything. So after trying to do this for 3 months or 4 months, and at the end of it, I was the one who was doing everything. I was the one who was answering like 100 emails per day for every customer, because end of the day it was our users and we could not just leave it to to an outsourced customer care team. So we started doing it in house. Like we would reply, engineers, me, designers, we, as and when we would get time, we would just reply to user queries. So that is when we thought that we should probably build a customer care team in house. So we hired like 2 to 5 customer care people, and I started training them because it was like one of the team members had to do it, because I, being the product manager or someone who's an engineer, no one understands the system better than we do. So we had to train the people on our own. So we spent around 3 months working with the customer care team, training them, helping them respond to all the user queries. And I think by end of these 3 to 4 months, we actually had a very strong customer care team that understood exactly what is the problem with the user. So every time that we would get a complaint, it would be responded within 1 to 2 hours, and it will be resolved within next 12 hours. We made sure that that happens with every customer. And so going next, another thing that we did was a digital format of cash on delivery. So in India, people don't have, not everyone has a credit card or a debit card, and even if people have, they're not open to using it online. So cash on delivery is a very famous thing in India. You just order something online, the person who goes to your place, you give him cash. We started doing that, but we realized it's a time frame of 5 days for that to happen. So if a user uh, orders for a cash on delivery, our system would just tell the courier people that this person has ordered. They would pick up a card from our inventory, go and give it to the person, collect the money, come back, which was a very long process for us. We wanted to make it shorter to just 2 to 48 hours. So we created a digital system. So what it would do is, like, as soon as a user submits uh, an order for cash on delivery, so we totally eliminated the need of physical cash cards. We said it will be just a digital code. So we started tracking, okay, this is the person who's ordered 500. So now the person will just go to his place, the courier person will go to his place, pick up 500, just tell us on a message, on an SMS, or maybe through an app, and just tell us that the pickup has been done, and we would just activate his account and add another 500 to his account. So it really reduced the life cycle from 5 days to just 2 to 48 hours. And actually in all the major cities, it happened within 2 to 4 hours, because we had our people all over the place, and we did not really have to wait to pick up the card and give it to the user, and for him to scratch the card and enter the code and then get the money. We eliminated everything about the card. So it was just like go and activate the system. Next was, we also realized that the cost of acquiring new paying users was very difficult. Like advertising on Google, Facebook, it was not working for us. It was close to 2,000 rupees to acquire one paying user. So we wanted to use our non-paying user base, which was used to convert to paying users. And even if 5% of those users converted to paying users, it would be huge amount of revenue for us. So we did a couple of things to try and do that. We ran various schemes. We also realized that most of the people are most likely to pay for a real cash game once they've played 18 games. It was the right time when people would get tempted to play a real cash game. So we started prompting him more to play a real cash games once he has played around 18 to 20 games. It became and actually that drove the conversions. We also did some schemes. So what we would do is, like, to the top, say, 2,000 non-paying users, we would give them free money, like just have these 100 rupees and go on and play. So they would just try out with that money and just play. And if few of them just win a couple of games, they are totally lured into playing with real cash. They start feeling, okay, I've already made some money with this, why not I deposit more and make more money. So it really helped us to again drive up our real cash users. uh, and a very big thing why our team was able to do all this was we had the right set of skill set and motivation. We realized that it's not just about how awesome an engineer or how awesome a designer you are, unless and until you are really motivated for that product to succeed. And this was the biggest thing for us, because everybody in the team was just, we just had one thing on the mind, that we want this product to work well. and we would not think about anything else. Even at 2 at night, people would be coming back to office and working on something if they just came up with a new idea, or if they feel there's something wrong with the server, they would just walk into the office at any point of time. We never had to run after engineers or designers to, to tell them that this is the deadline, do it now. They would be more than willing to do it at all the time. So with that really helped. We also hired few marketing people. uh, Initially what was happening was we had a central marketing team for all the games, and we realized there was a lot of disconnect, because if you're not a part of the team that is building the product, you don't really feel for the product and you don't understand the product as well as someone in the team would. So we kind of hired a marketing person within the team. We did not want an external marketing team to do our marketing. So because once he was a part of the product, he was working very closely with the product team and the engineers, he would be more than, he would understand exactly when to market, what to communicate, what to not communicate, when to push users, what kind of schemes to run. So that really helped us to build a very strong team, because we just pulled in people from different domains into one team which was only for Rummy, and that worked for us. So in the end, these were the revenue numbers that I was talking about. So it grew from to approximately 100x. Team size grew from one person to 8 people. Market share when we started working was we just had 2% of the market share, but when we ended in March 2011, we had around 44% of the market share. So which was a huge accomplishment to be, to have in just 1 year. It was we did not expect that to happen in 1 year, honestly. So yeah, we, few things that we just realized, I mean, it's a learning for us, was it's not just about the product, it's more than just the product, and everything has to fall into place: your design and engineering, the marketing, operations, the finance, and your customer care team. So everything together helped us really make a good product in the market. Thank you.
Any questions? Somebody? I've got my. I always have questions, as you know, but I bet you we have one down here.
All right, thank you. Fabulous, thank you. I had a question about the internet disconnect process. So a player disconnects and they find out that they disconnect and there's this time delay. What are the other players doing and how do they tolerate?
We actually did something for the other users also. The other person will also get a prompt that the person you were playing against, his internet has disconnected, and let's wait for a minute or two and see if he could join back. At the same time, we also allowed a person to play multiple games. So while he's in a game and he's waiting for the other person, he can actually go back to the lobby and choose to be a part of another game. So he's not just getting bored because the other person has lost the connection. He could play another game. Yes, they tolerated because we allowed for it. Initially, we did not allow a user to play more than one game, but while we were doing internet disconnection, we thought we should do something for the other person also. So we allowed him to play another game at that point of time. So he was parallelly a part of two games.
I'm going to slip in one. I'm looking at this nice picture of all the elements that come together to make your software engineering product. And I guess I want to, are there any war stories you can tell us about? It sounds very zipless. It seems like it worked beautifully, and there weren't arguments between you and management, and you got all the resources you needed. And then when changes need to be made, they were perfectly made by everybody together. Is that
No,
how did those
actually,
work?
it was not that seamless. I'm just capturing what worked for us. There were a lot of things that did not work for us. Number one, with the management, when we started working, it's a management that has 10 products. For them, it was not, this was not the most important thing. We had to prove ourselves in first 3 to 6 months and make some money and say that, see, this is 10 times the growth of what we were seeing in last quarter, and it makes sense to get another person. So what did not happen was, what I really wanted was in the first quarter maybe have a team of 5 people, but we could not do that. Every quarter we increased our revenues, we were able to pull in one person into the team, which required a lot of discussion of, why we need that person, what we will be doing, and why it will help, why it is not a waste of resource, and all those things. There were a lot of arguments amongst engineers and designers, which I think always happens in every internet company. So which is like, a designer would design something while the engineer is developing it, he's like, no, this cannot be done, I will not do it in this way. And then you're stuck in the middle of the process where like, no, we agreed upon this and we should do it. And he's like, no, this cannot be developed. He has not given me proper animations. He has not given me proper designs and I will not do it. So I think this happened with every second iteration or something. So, but I think we got kind of used to it, and there was a point when we had to actually let go of a designer because he was too stubborn with his design choices, and he was it for him it was more about him and his designs. But what should be the priority is the product, and that's what you have to give importance if you're a part of a team which is doing things really fast. So after that, we try to work. There was one more solution that we did was, the designs will not reach the engineer only after they're finished. Only once we start conceptualizing the idea and we do the flows, we would put designers and engineers together and discuss the feasibility and discuss what is the best way, and then let the designers design it. So because what also happens is, to be fair to both the sides, you might have a designer who's given designs and then the engineer does not accept it. You have to go back to the designer and ask him to maybe redo a couple of things, which is a waste of his time, his effort, and his creativity. So to be fair to both the sides, we kind of decided that in the beginning we'll keep everyone on the same page. Let people openly brainstorm, fight, discuss, do whatever it takes to come to a conclusion and do it really fast. Another very big problem that we were facing with the QC team. So there were times when we had releases which were going in and from the QC team, because they were like, we don't agree with this. This is not how the game should function, and we would be fighting. No, this is our decision, and we are telling you this is how it should function. So that was a very bad phase because it continued for like 6 months. Every release we would send, it would just get stuck in QC for days and days. So we had to. I think the solution for us was just to come up with a standard process. So what we would send to the QC apart from the product is like, approved documents of everything that I would make, that this is the exact requirement, and every use case we would, when I am testing, I started testing everything on my own before it would go to the QC. So I would first do a unit testing, integration testing. I would make a report and then I would send it to the QC. So even they have confidence that it has been tested and it's not just a product that's coming to them for no reason. So that helped. We put a couple of other processes in place, that if there's a release that's getting stuck for a week or 2 weeks, it's so after that it's the decision of the product person. So rather than telling fighting with the QC to please 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 do it, we would just do it if the product person is saying to do that. So there were a few things, yeah, we had to put into place, but it just happened as we went along. There were things which were not anticipated.
So just, there's a lot of really exciting, interesting statements. Um, helpful for us to visualize. One, you brought up a couple more questions for me, which is um, this QC process that was part of the bigger company. How big was the bigger company, and were they involved in any of the product design discussions, conversations, or reviews?
No, the QC was like a central unit for the bigger company. They were doing QC for every product that we had. So all the games, all other games like social games, the social network, the e-commerce, the travel, they were doing QA for everything. This was a team of around 150 or 200 people. The entire company was like all the domains combined, engineers and designers, everything was around 150 to 200 people. And the management of, so the people who are at the CEO level and all, they were not really involved a lot in making product decisions or the design decisions. They were mainly involved in just the overall strategy. So if we would want to pull up our marketing budgets or add more people, add more investment to it, that is when the CEOs would really come into, looking at it, if it's really a good idea to invest more into the product. We would just do our product reviews every 3 months with them. So which would just mean, showing the report of what has happened, what has grown, what has not worked for us.
So if you guys did something that was over the line, for example, in this country, it's illegal to gamble online with real money. Or maybe if you were to have your people solicit sex in your game, how would have that gotten vetted? How would have those decisions or boundaries been evaluated by the company? And how did they set your incentive structure, or what was a reasonable kind of direction for you to go?
So the decision of in the first place doing this game, even at that time we were not sure if we should do it or not from the legal perspective. Though by the Supreme Court of India, Rummy is the only game which is legal to play with real cash online. So no other game is legal in India. This is the only game that was legal when we started working on it. It is not legal now.
Oh,
There is a case pending in the court, and
so they have to
people are
take, this
fighting.
isn't, but it's still up?
The real cash game has been taken out.
Oh.
The rest of the versions are there. So I think it happened a month or 1.5 months back. So
That's
the
why
game
you
is
came in? No.
no. After I came in, I guess. So yeah. So I think those decisions were in the very beginning when we decide that we have to make a game with real cash. That happened from the higher management end, where the product president and the CEOs were involved, and they said, okay, let's do something like this. Even after while we were working on the product, though it was not like, the CEO would come in and they would not really be a part of the decision making process, but it was a very open culture for us. So in my hierarchy, I was just directly reporting to the president of products. So after that, it's like if you have to really discuss anything, you can just walk into the room of the CEO and talk to him. It is not like, you have to take an appointment or then talk or go through a process. You don't have to do those things. We would just randomly just discuss what is happening, what is not happening, and maybe they would give some suggestions. It was more like a mentoring to an independent team, and it was more like, I mean, I would say that it's more like a VC startup relation, where you just show it to him, like if it makes more sense for him to put more money into it, how the game is going and how the game is not going, and that's it. Most of the decisions are up to you.
I would like somebody to ask a question. Anybody else have a question they want to ask? And then probably
I'd like you to talk a little bit more about the money. The whole thing, I got 500 rupees, okay, I want to play. So I have to take that cash money someplace, then they tell you, or how does that actually work?
Uh,
They're,
Depositing money into the system.
Yeah.
So there are two ways. Either you use the online system, which is Visa or credit card, and you can deposit instantly. The other is on the website. You can just say that I want to order a cash on delivery. So it sends us a notification that this person with this address wants us to give him 500 rupees, and he will give it when we go to his place. So we kind of activate a digital code in the background for you. And as soon as the person reaches, and we have our courier system, not really a courier system, we have certain distribution channels in India. So I mean, all these game companies and all these e-commerce companies, they use the same distribution channel. So we had a tie-up with them. They would just go to your place, they would collect the money. As soon as they've taken the money from you, they would, send us by an SMS or an app or email, and as soon as we get the notification, we just activate it. So we have a panel by which we can just say activate it. So you get the money in your system. You don't have to go anywhere as a user.
So the money comes, you give the courier the money, and you also give them the code that's been sent to you. I mean, if I'm the player,
Yeah.
I have a code.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I give them the money and the code.
You have a code. Yes, you
Yeah.
get a code on email, but you have to use that code only if the money did not get activated automatically. We don't want you to come back and then put a code. We
Right.
wanted it to be automatic.
Okay, thank you.
we have a question online, which is from Steve Ray, actually, about where the customer traffic was coming from. Do you guys have, was it all from India, or was some of it from all over the world?
No, it was only from India. It was restricted to be only from India because being a real cash game, it was legal only in India. For rest of our games, the traffic was coming from India, Sri Lanka, Nepal.